The U-shaped graph of a quadratic function, this U, is called a parabola. The maximum and minimum point on a graph of a quadratic, so this end point right here, this turning point right here, is called my vertex. This is our less than symbol. This is our greater than symbol. X equals negative b over 2a, or the opposite of b over 2a, is the equation for our axis of symmetry. We also use it for our vertex, but that equation itself is axis of symmetry. When you graph an inequality, you have a closed dot when you have those or equal to symbols, because I want to close it because I want to shade that point. If I wanted to solve this inequality, x plus 5 is less than or equal to 13. I need 5 on the other side, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. X is less than or equal to 13 minus 5 is 8. So I'm not going to flip my inequality because I didn't multiply or divide by a negative. And then I can do the next problem. Remember backwards PEMDAS, so I want to subtract my 14 first. I get negative 4x is less than or equal to 40. Divide by a negative 4. And I divided by a negative, so I'm going to flip my inequality over. 40 divided by negative 4 is negative 10. So x is greater than or equal to negative 10. That's C. Oops. Okay. Again, number 9, solve the inequality. I want the 30 on the other side. It's being added, so I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides. N is greater than or equal to 20. I didn't multiply or divide by an inequality, so I'm not going to flip it. And apparently I forgot the or equals to on here, but since they all are missing them, I'd go with C. For number 10, remember we want to get rid of those parentheses first, so we're going to start by distributing our 3. 3n minus 21 is equal to my negative 30. Move my 21 over first, so add 21. 3n is equal to a negative 9, and then divide both sides by 3. So n is equal to negative 3. I wanted to solve the next inequality. I'm going to erase this 3 down here. Whoops. Hey. Okay, I'm going to erase that so that we can see our next problem. I wanted to solve this inequality. First thing I want to do, combine like terms. So 3x minus 7x gives me negative 4x plus 2 is less than, and then 10 minus 12 gives me negative 2. Now I move my 2 over, it's being added, so I subtract 2. Negative 4x is less than negative 4. Negative 4 is getting multiplied by x, so I divide by a negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Add my x. Remember, if I divide or multiply by a negative, I have to flip my inequality. So x is greater than 1. That's D. 12 asked me to factor completely. So I'm going to use the box method for this one. Remember, I'm going to put my squared term in the top left. I'm going to put my negative 24 in the bottom right. My goal is to find two things to fill these spots that'll equal negative 2. So what is two things that multiply together to give me k squared? Well, I could do a k times a k, right? Two things that multiply together to give me negative 24. How about 8 and 3? And we've got to make one of them negative. So let's do a negative 8 and a positive 3. Fill out my boxes. 3 times k is 3k. K times negative 8 is negative 8k. And then add on my angle. 3k minus 8k. Does that give me negative 2k? Nope. So I try something different. I see lots of 4s and 6s in my answers. So 4 and 6. But one of them has to be negative. And my 2 is going to be negative, so I'm going to make my 6 negative. Let's double check that. 4 times k gives me 4k. K times negative 6 gives me negative 6k. And then add on my angle to make sure. Is 4 plus negative 6k going to give me that negative 2k that I need? It sure does. So this is one parenthesis, and this is my other. So I need a k minus 6 and a k plus 4. Awesome, that looks like that's A. Alright. And if I wanted to move on to number 13, let's use the AC method. So A is 3, B is 5, C is K. I need A times C, so 3 times negative 12. Well, that's negative 36. And B, which is a positive 5. So I need to think of two things that are going to multiply to give me negative 36, but will add to 5. How about 6 times negative 6? 6 plus negative 6 gives me 0. So not that. What else multiplies to get me negative 6? How about negative 4 times 9? Negative 4 plus 9 equals 5. That's what I wanted. So I know 5x is the same thing as negative 4x plus 9x. So I can go ahead and replace it. And I get 3x squared minus 4x plus 9x minus 12. Okay, now I break it into pairs. What does both 3x squared and a negative 4x have? Well, they both have an x. And remember, I take the lower exponent, so I'm just going to put an x. x to get to 3x squared? Well, I still need the 3. And then to go from x to x squared, I'd have to multiply by an x. And then x times negative 4 will get me negative 4x. And I do the same thing with the other side. 9x minus 12x. What divides 9 and 12 evenly? 3. And then 3 times what will get me to 9x? And 3 times what will get me to a negative 12? So now I notice my parentheses are the same, so that's one part of my answer. And my other part of my answer are the numbers that we just pulled out front. So x plus 3. I see that answer in D. All right. Next question. Factor by grouping. So that's what we just did over here on the right-hand side, is factoring by grouping. I'm going to start off by looking at just the first two. What does 3x to the third minus 12x all have in common? Well, they both have an x. And remember, I'm going to take the smaller exponent, so I'm going to say squared. 5x squared and wanted to get to 3x to the third, what do I still need? Well, I need a 3. And to go from x squared to x to the third, I need one more x. And then to go from x squared to negative x squared, I need a negative 1. Now we have 6x minus 2. What divides both 6x and 2? The largest thing to go into both of them. Well, that's just 2, right? 2 times 3 gets me to 6. And 2 times negative 1 will get me to the negative 2. But let's not forget our x. So now my parentheses are the same. That's one part of my answer. And then the other part of my answer comes from these numbers that I pulled out. X squared plus 2. I see that as A.